Yes, yes. Man in the wilderness here. I'm live. And it's first of many town hall meetings going to be taking place here, right? All right, we're going to introduce the panel. We're going to make the panel introduce themselves to you. Starting from Conrad.
All right. I'm Conrad O'Brien, your humble servant, a man who pride himself in speaking truth to power. They call me the fireman. And indeed, I'm host of the popular radio program in Jamaica, Straight Up and New Start 93 FM. We broadcast out of the premier learning institution here in Jamaica, the University of the West Indies. And that's me in a nutshell. You can catch me Mondays and Tuesdays from 9 a.m. until 12 noon. Stream live via www.newstart93fm. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, and then we have Professor Curtis Ward.
Okay, thank you for that kind title, sir. I am an adjunct professor at the University of the University of the District of Columbia, which has nothing to do with my presence here today, of course. I'm a former ambassador of Jamaica to the UN, where I served 2 years on the UN Security Council. I'm a practicing attorney, retired. I write a few blogs and podcasts. We talk with Ambassador Curtis Ward. My blog is the Ward Post, and so on and so forth. I'm just a Jamaican patriot who wants to see Jamaica on the right path at all times.
Also ambassador, former ambassador.
Yes, to the UN.
To the US.
United Nations.
United Nations. And also Herb Nelson Jr. Your mic. Not hearing you.
Not hearing Herb at all.
Yeah, Herb, not hearing you.
Herb, you got to wheel and turn again.
Yes, the mic, Herb. All right. In the meantime, Herb, working out the mic. I'm make with us introduce Rattigan. You know the man where we are about to turn the commissioner. Rattigan, introduce yourself.
Yes. Good evening to this distinguished panel. Good evening to you, the man in the wilderness, and good evening to your listening and viewing audience. My name is Wil Rattigan, a product of Waterhouse and Howard University Law School and the FBI. I'm also the host of a program called Reason with Rattigan every Saturday from 3 to 6 on www.reggaeglobalradio.com. And I'm a patriot at heart. And as I've said many times, I don't care about politics and party. I care about people and policies. And that's why I'm here tonight, because we're going to have a scintillating discussion about those things. And I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me, sir.
Yes, man. And Jeffrey? Jeff? I will make we go back to Herb. Can you hear Herb now? Mike still mute.
There's something seems to be playing. I don't know if it's in Sir Herb background.
Yes, we can hear that.
But there's something there. I don't know if it's
maybe Herb should leave and come back in.
Yes.
Yeah, he says he's gonna leave and come out.
Okay, no problem. Marcel Clark, can you introduce yourself to me, sir?
Yes, sir. Good evening. I am Marcel A.R. Clark. I am the one you call a rough and rugged deliverer. I'm out of St. Thomas, direct lineage to Paul Bogus. So we are just pushing a virtual rebellion to overturn the atrocities of the governance of Jamaica. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Okay, good. And the great Jeffery Tavares. Jeffery. What happened to Jeffery?
Where's Jeffrey?
Freeze up.
Asleep with his eyes open.
Yes. All right. So you know what?
No man, bring in Jeffrey. Jeffrey just done kill me with mountain. When gone?
Oh, you hear me, Loaded?
Here he's here. He's here. The defender is here.
Yes, Jeffrey.
Yes, are you hearing me?
Yes, man, we're hearing you. Yes.
We're hearing you, sir, Jeff.
But Jeffrey.
Hear
yes,
me?
Man. Yes, man, we're hearing you.
We're waiting for you to introduce yourself.
The whole stuff. Yes.
All right, you know what, Jeffrey, you want to rejoin? Just rejoin. Yes.
Or move from where he's at.
Roots FM.
When?
Yes.
You and Jeffrey, can you send me the links? Because persons are asking for it on my side.
All right. So if they go to Reggae Up Scene, let's go on YouTube, go on Reggae Up Scene, you're gonna see Reggae Up Scene. All right. So we could start from we could just till Jeffrey sort out that. Yeah, but still gonna make him introduce himself. But when I hold it number because we have over like 700 people viewing right now. Yeah. So you know we now hold them up no more. So Rattigan, let us start out from you, with you, right? Your take on Jamaica and what's going on right now. What really bother you?
Well, that's a nice way to start out the program. With that question, what's bothering me? A lot of things bothering me about Jamaica. You know, one of the things that the questions I used to hear asked a lot is, what keeps you up at night? They used to ask FBI administrators that, and so they would have to explain, you know, the issues that they're facing and why it's keeping them up at night. Well, I'm up at night because 60% of the Jamaican population is earning less than $60 a week, and another 11%, I believe, they're earning less than $5.50 US per day. So you're talking about 70% of the population. That shouldn't be, because we have so much resources in Jamaica. And then on top of that, when I say resources, I'm talking about funding coming in from donor agencies and donor countries, because Jamaica, the days of Jamaica producing anything like bananas and things like those days are in the rearview mirror.
Yes.
But they're getting enough resources, so that resources including remittances, and they have some money coming in from tourism, not everything that as advertised. But I'm particularly troubled by what I see going on in the Ministry of National Security. I don't see leadership there. I see management. They're trying to manage crime, and they're doing a poor job of it. And there's so many issues with the people who are supposed to be leaders there. We don't see them, we don't hear from them, and whenever we do hear from them, it's pure nonsense. For example, and I don't want to take too much time because we have a big panel and time is at a premium. For example, a few years ago, I sat down with the Prime Minister and I explained to him about a fusion center. I also explained to him about, over the years, I explained to them about ghost guns. And in fact, a friend of mine sent me an article today from Jamaica describing the ghost guns that were recently recovered in St. James. I went back and I looked and I saw that there was an article in the Observer about what I said concerning ghost guns more than a year ago. Jamaica, as far as national security is concerned, there's nothing proactive. It's all reactive. And I was trying to get them on the footing where they're proactive and predictive. But they've spurned my request, not just me, but people in the diaspora, professionals in the diaspora. They've said, we don't want any help from you guys. We have, top class investigators here. All you need to do is just send your money. If you want to come and give a one speech, then we'll accommodate that. But beyond that, nothing else. So that's my focus tonight, national security issues.
Ambassador Curtis Ward.
Well, apart from all of the domestic issues which have been in the news and I would say negatively impacting on Jamaica now for a long time, I am very concerned about the lack of a narrative on foreign policy that is comprehensive and understandable, that is transparent and explains to the people of Jamaica what kind of foreign policy the government is pursuing. Because those of you who are old enough or have read enough will have known what Michael Manley said back in the 70s when he declared that Jamaicans will not crawl on their knees, they'll walk on their feet when it comes to foreign policy and Jamaica's relationship with other countries abroad. So I think it's very important for us to understand that Jamaica has lost its compass when it comes to engagement in foreign policy. And there are so many issues that we could raise. We could raise the Venezuelan issue. We could raise the Palestinian issue. We could talk about the Sahrawi people in Western Sahara, and so on and so forth. We could talk about how Jamaica has subverted its sovereignty to other countries in towing the line that they have dictated to the Jamaican government. And I'm very concerned about those things going forward.
Yes, Conrad?
Hi, yes. Hi, good evening again, everyone. Must say thanks to you, Wayne, for inviting me. Yes?
Hi, yes. Hi, good evening again, everyone. Can you turn down something there? Can you turn it down? It have a feedback. Someone, yes.
From my end?
I don't know whose end, but I can hear it. It have a feedback. Something turns on there. Yes. No, Jeffrey, you can turn on something there or something.
Yeah, because I'm hearing.
Yes. Go ahead.
All right, so good evening once again to everyone. Thanks again to you, Wayne, for inviting me here and your very, very, very popular platform. And indeed, I want to greet my brothers and sisters here at home in Jamaica, well, and indeed, all the Jamaicans and people who are joining this platform from around the world. You asked the question, Wayne, what is, what is of concern, or some people would say keep you up in the night, you think, and so on.
Yes.
And I want to just start this way. Some time ago, from about the Q1 of last year, that's the first quarter of last year, I started to engage Dr. Kingsley Chin on my program. There's a staple on a weekly basis where we talk about various issues. Dr. Chin is a world-renowned spine specialist and a Harvard Business School graduate. So he is quite au fait in terms of the medical profession and also in the whole business of commerce. Now, each time I have him on the program, we would raise some issues. And when we look at the graph, we picked up that there are some major indices that shows that a lot of our institution not going right at all, or a lot of the sector, i.e. the health sector, the education sector. We talk about the whole business of even agriculture that basically is supposed to be the springboard on which the Jamaican economy is supposed to be built on. We look at the whole business of the discipline in the country, the fiber of the country, the crime, the national security. All of those indices was just going in the wrong direction. And as a result of that, Dr. Chin normally raised the point that these matches what resemble a country being on the scuff or could be going in the direction of a failed state. And I want to get it clear. I'm not saying Jamaica is a failed state, but what we're seeing are things that are unique to failed state. I believe the skill set lies here in Jamaica to deal with those things. I think what we have is a lack of political will, a lot of commitment, a lot of care, and indeed, envelope with the big C, corruption. And indeed, once corruption is abound, then it is obvious that you'll have her or his partner, which is crime. Fast forward to over the last few weeks, we have seen where the financial sector here in Jamaica is facing heavy weather. Not because we don't have a strong banking system, a strong equities markets, but because we have persons who are unscrupulous, thief, and also because the regulatory framework that was put in place at the get-go, we were under the impression that it was doing its job. However, about 2 days ago, or is it Friday to be exact, I think, Friday or yesterday, we got what I would regard as a bombshell. That revelation from Dr. Nigel Clark, that indeed what he said to the Jamaican people initially weren't so. When he mentioned that there was no report from FSC, and as a result of that, he couldn't have intervened in the sector, in SSL in a particular way. Lo and behold, we gather that the report was there from 2019. And these are things that basically, keep you thinking. And I have a lot more that I would like to dig into as we go along. Those are my opening words.
Okay, Herb, we can hear you now. No, we're not hearing you. Look on your mic settings. You can hear me loud and clear, right? All right, make we do
yes,
something.
we can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, good. All right, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
I am Jeffery Tavares. I am Jeffery Tavares from Make We Talk, Roots 96.1 FM, and also the Make We Talk Jeffery Tavares YouTube channel. I'm the people's defender. I defend poor people from the brutal attacks of politicians and people like Everall Warmington, who believe that he's Mr. Bull Duppy and Duppy Conqueror. Mr. Lonesome, over to you, sir.
Yes. All right. Marcel.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Yes, man. We are good.
It's an interesting evening. Such a powerful panel as this one. I hope my brother Herb Nelson get his audio sorted out. I'd love to hear from him tonight in regards to the main topics. But I just wanted to highlight something.
Yes.
I heard a news bite with Everett Warmington, as Jeffrey mentioned, and he was hitting out at a particular former politician / prime minister. And I just complete watching a broadcast that was sometime either this week or last with two other former politicians, long-standing politicians. And I was surprised to see these two politicians working on the same station, on the same show, co-hosting.
Yes.
And I'm referring to Ronnie Tweets and Colonel Charles.
Yes.
And they did not hold back in their pronouncement on the SSL saga to include the FSC, to include BOJ, to include the government, the finance minister, etc., etc. They did not hold back. So I find it strange that Mr. Warmington chose to attack Sir Bruce Golding. And I applaud the three men, for how they dealt with the issue. They were fair, they were frank, they were firm where needed. And it's surprising that we have two former members of the standing government from that party that spoke in that manner, about the issue of the day. No, my respect level has gone up for them, honestly. And I'm not being facetious or anything. I'm just being frank. But when I heard Mr. Warmington make his pronouncement, I sort of pulled back and was wondering why. Why what Bruce Golding said that was so upsetting. What road did he go down? I made sure to watch the entire program, word for word. And not once did I hear anything. He actually brought in some powerful guests. He actually brought on Andre, what's his name, Hilton. I remember the PMP.
I am. Oh, I'm them. The economics. What's his name again, Conrad?
Ralston Hyman?
No, not Ralston. I'm referring to Andre.
Andre Hilton from the People's National Party.
Ralston also, That Bruce.
Yeah, but I'm speaking to. Yes. No, but what I'm saying, I'm speaking to Andre.
Yes.
And I was a bit surprised that he brought on Andre.
Why? Yeah, why would you be surprised? He operates a talk show.
No, listen, man. Listen. My time now, Conrad. I'm saying I am surprised.
Okay.
Based on how you used to view politics when these people were in politics actively, it would seem as if they would never have a decent or civil conversation with the opposite party. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay? But and I started to wonder why Warmington reacted that way. Then I remember there's a long-standing feud between Warmington and Bruce when one they mash up one farm and because one wanted to take over the constituency and etc. etc. Now it is so bitter that the young man is that he's still carrying that thing after so many years.
What young man? You mean the old stud?
Jeffrey, behave yourself. No, but I want you to understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
And as I'm saying, Bruce could have played a diplomat, not touch it, or he could have skipped around it. He did not. He spoke as how it is, and he spoke of what should be and what shouldn't be. And I welcome that kind of conversation. No, I would wish that our PM and our finance minister and all the other relevant persons that would come into contact with this issue, that they would speak in the same manner. Let the truth be spoken as it is. Let the chips fall where they may. An error was made, whatever the error is, let's address it, let's correct it, let's fix it. Because, you know, it's going to have a negative impact on the financial status of Jamaica. We may have a run on the banks. I hear that the furniture people, them selling out mattress scarce. I hear it's a safe scarce and other things like that. And, you know, we may have a run on the dollar. We may have a run on the Jamaican money, where money is going to be scarce because persons going to be hoarding them at home, where it's out of circulation. We may have the dollar falling even further than where it is. We may, by the end of the year, reach $200 or 200 something, because people are in a panic mode. There's a run on the banks. There's a run on the financial institution. It has hurt the investment market of Jamaica, where potential investors or persons in the diaspora want to invest in Jamaican stocks and stuff like that. They are watching. They're in a panic mode. And I'm saying, I need the prime minister to be the prime minister. I need the finance minister to be the finance minister and step up to the plate and deal with the issue at hand. And if it means bringing in the FBI and giving them full liberty to follow the money, that's what they should do. Thank you very much.
Okay.
May I win?
Yes.
You know, our good friend, the great grandson for national hero Paul Bogle, Sir Clark, said that he wished the prime minister. Now let us start from Everett Warmington and I'll go up to that end. Let me make something clear to you all on this panel here. Mr. Warmington has no respect for himself. So he will never respect the people of Jamaica. And Mr. Warmington, having said what he said about the former prime minister and the former leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, Bruce Golding, is to show you that the Labour Party can do anything and get away with it, because Everett Warmington would back them. Now, if a former prime minister and the former leader of the Labour Party said what he said, why should that be an issue to Everett Warmington? It is full time. We call a spade a spade. Mr. Warmington has no respect for the people of Jamaica. He has no respect for the Parliament of Jamaica, nor for his former leader. Now, why should the former leader call the present Prime Minister and speak to him one away pertaining to the SSL? Yes, the diplomacy must prevail. But the fact of the matter is, I'll come to you, Ambassador. The fact of the matter is, it is in the public domain. And the former Prime Minister have a sole duty and a sole right to say what he said. Nobody no want to speak out. It's only Lonesome, Wil Rattigan, Jeffery Tavares, and Conrad O'Brien is speaking of what is going on in this country. So lo and behold, the former Prime Minister come out and say something. Who is Everett Warmington? He has no moral authority. He has no respect to say what he said. Ambassador Ward?
Yes. Given what we know about Warmington and what comes out of his mouth on a regular basis, so what he said about the former Prime Minister, Bruce Golding, is not an exception to what we expect of Warmington. And what we also know is that when a government is sliding into autocracy, there are certain things that we must come to grips with. And apparently, the Honorable Bruce Golding did not get the memo. Don't ask questions, don't comment, don't criticize, and don't even think about any of the foregoing. Because guess what? We run things. And that's why I have written on several occasions about what I see to be quite concerning. is that democracy and rule of law is under attack. It's under threat in Jamaica. The press is under attack. The press cannot objectively report the news. Investigative journalism is on life support. So we have to put all of this in the context of when somebody like the former Prime Minister Bruce Golding sees a wrong and comments on it, he's going to get attacked. And more often than not, the attack will not come from the top. As you know, Jeffrey, and all of you on this program know, the attack comes from an underling. And because of the character of Warmington, he was perfect for taking up that role under this situation.
Indeed.
Wilford?
May I say something on that?
Will.
All right, go ahead.
Rattigan.
No, I'll yield to Conrad. Go ahead. Have we gotten a hold of Herb yet?
Yeah, Herb.
He's still working on his mic.
Yeah, he's working on it.
Do something for me, Wilford. Will, send back Herb this number. Him can talk and we can see him. So him talk and we can hear him. Send him back this number now. Make him talk on it. Call it, talk on it. We can't hear him and we can see him. He can come on back and him get a mic this way. So we can hear him.
All right.
Send it back right now to him.
All right.
Yes.
Let me just take the slot. Thanks, Will. I listen the conversation surrounding Mr. Everett Warmington as it relates to former Prime Minister Bruce Golding. And frankly speaking, I have a different take on it. Or I'll approach it from a different angle. Because I don't think any of us on this panel and anyone who live in Jamaica or overseas who follows Jamaican politics would be surprised at Everett Warmington. That's vintage Warmington. My surprise is that...
Hold on, Conrad, 1 minute. Herb, don't move yet. You can
hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. All right.
Good.
All right, Ratty, come in.
My surprise.
Yes.
My surprise. Sorry, good. My surprise is the deafening silence from persons who one would look at otherwise in the Jamaica Labour Party. And I will talk. I'm saying from the top, from the present leader, who one could say was somewhat anointed by a Bruce Golding. He sat by and allowed Warmington to make that onslaught without, well, certainly, I don't know if any of you are here, but I have not heard any condemnation coming from him and other member of his cabinet and other members of the 48 with the Prime Minister 49 that sits on the opposite and the government benches in the House of Representatives. I've not heard it. And for me, that is where my concern is. Not with Everett Warmington, because we knew Everett Warmington was the same person who referred to Lisa Hanna in derogatory term. Everett Warmington was the same person who gave a colleague from the media in Jamaica at CVM his index finger, right? And all sorts of things. Everett Warmington is the same person who was captured and hot mic, speak in very, very derogatory tone to journalists. So I'm not surprised, but I'm indeed taken aback that the quote-unquote decent persons or people within the Jamaica Labour Party, within government, that you would expect a level of condemnation from. I'm not seeing it. That's my take.
So what you're saying, Conrad, silent mean consent. Because
well, my friend, That's what that's why I know it. And
you remember I spoke about it on one of my program. If you have a leader, the past leader who anointed Andrew Onis and put him up and said, yes, young people time, him are the leader. And you hear Everett Warmington come out like that and come back and disrespect, and you don't say anything at all. Well, me that just push it right up there. Same place.
Unless, and there's a method to the madness. So this was organized. This was organized. They all signed off on this and said, listen, we're going to attack him. But Warmy, Warmy is the attack dog, and people know say so Warmy, so people will just say, that's Warmington. Unless that's a planned situation there. I don't know. But certainly, I am saying that it is looking embarrassed, and maybe it shows as well that there's a crack within the Labour Party, but because they're in government, it's somewhat being sewn together. Because when you're in government, you will get away with a lot of disunity, etc., etc. When you're in opposition, it busts open. So that's another angle.
But gentlemen.
Yeah.
Let us call a spade a spade.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not apologize to no one. Is it?
Yes.
I will not apologize to no one. Everett Warmington is saying when he told Anthony Hilton about Riverton Dump, Everett Warmington fit to go and clean Riverton Dump. He does not fit to sit in the Parliament of Jamaica.
No, you're right. You're right.
But gentlemen,
it is full time.
I'm making. That's a point.
It is the full time. Mr. Warmington continue disrespecting the people of this country. And it's full time. We out here, if the houses of the media house don't want to do it, then we need to do it. It's full time. Everett Warmington go put on pampers and sit down.
All right.
But Jeffrey, hold on, Wayne, please. Let me just say this. And I think Jeffrey missed the point just now. We understand.
I don't miss the point. I do not miss any point. The fact of the matter is, you all are favoring this thing. You all are hugging up this thing. This man is a disgrace to the Parliament of this country.
No, you're right, Jeffrey. No, you're right. And Conrad,
no, hold on, please. Let's contextualize things and deal with the context. I am saying every single person, including Mr. Tavares, condemning, and certainly among us, we are condemning the behavior of Warmington, right? And I agree with the words that Jeffrey and yourself and whoever used to describe him, right? However, I am saying that is what we become accustomed to from Warmington.
You come accustomed to it, not me.
Hold on, just listen and learn.
No, you need to listen to. You need to listen to. It's full time the people of this country tell this man to sit down.
Listen, if I can't be allowed, I will leave the platform.
Hold on, Jeffrey. Finish.
I just want to make Jeffrey need to listen.
Right,
you need to listen to.
Hold on, Jeffrey. Hold on. No, because a lot of people listening and things. So we now remember, we can't force over Warmington or Andrew when them do wrong. Because both of them, if me a leader and somebody has said, this is my prime minister, I'm back him for anything, and you don't come out and say, no, that's wrong. That means you tolerate him with the wrongness too. Hold on. So me tell Warmington, him a dump, Jeffrey, I said him for Riverton dump. Him himself is a dump. Yeah, but the prime minister no better. Because, come on, if I'm me, and somebody come say, you back me, I say, no, you can't back me, so that's so wrong. You understand? So the Warmington a dump himself. Also the prime minister, because come out and say nothing. So me understand both of you. So more carrying her because he never introduced himself and he might never did a work. Wait, may I come back to you, Conrad?
No problem.
please.
Okay. Thanks very much, Wayne, for the invitation. Greetings to your guests and to your listening audience. I am Herb Nelson Jr. I am the chairperson for the Crime and Security Committee Group of the Institute of Caribbean Studies here in Washington, D.C. I'm also a founding member, one of the members of the Jamaica Task Force, Crime and Security Task Force here in the U.S. as well. Of course, you know its leader, Dr. Rupert Francis. I do the intelligence part of the analysis for the task force. Now, I've been listening and I'm hearing us talking about Everett Warmington. So you're doing exactly what the Jamaica Labour Party intended you to do. Lose sight of the main actors that we should be talking about. This is called obfuscation. In other words, they are using Warmington and his behavior to blur everything else. Have the public talking about Warmington when you should be talking about Nigel Clark, the PM, and other folks in the office of the Prime Minister? We said yesterday on another program that we're dealing with some of the most corrupt actors in the Caribbean, probably in the whole world, sitting up there in that Prime Minister's office. And Warmington himself, I believe, is or was a member of the Prime Minister's office. The very person who stood and on his cell phone calling to the Minister of National Security said he was being harassed by the police when the police was doing their jobs. You cannot be above the law. And that's what this entire story with what the investment firm and
SSL?
the money.
SSL.
SSL, yes. Thank you. I had a mind block for a second. The SSL story is about the monies in the early days that went from Mexico City to St. Lucia, from St. Lucia to Barbados, and then back into Jamaica. And that money and other monies apparently were utilized for the 2020 elections. And recently we're being advised or told that the additional funds ripped off was to help with local elections in Jamaica. So are we going to deal with these questions at hand, or are we going to keep talking about Mr. Warmington, who is a complete, total fabrication and waste of time?
Yes. Yeah, distraction. So we could talk about the money now. We could talk about that money. Right? And this lady, we could talk about the money now because, you know, them coming up with all kind of things, and I hear some of the radio station coming up with one bag of thing. Tell me something now. Anybody here, well, me talked to Conrad the other day about stocks, when people buy stocks. Oh, one person could work in a place and move over 3 billion Jamaican. Where should I put that? In other words, in US, 12.7 million US plus other money. She move it, and you know, one radio station want to make her out like this. I mean, you can just shine some light on this for me, please.
Ambassador, you want to take a shot? Well, listen, let me say this to you. At the end of October, 31 October of last year, Bolt had $12.7 million in his account. This woman has declared that she's responsible for the majority of the 40 members or over 40 members who are losing their stock funds. If it depends on the authority you give to your advisor in an investment group, do they have the authority to buy and sell? do they have the authority to move it into something that's lucrative? But you have to be notified. The fact that there's been no notification whatsoever of several members who are turning around now to find out that they have lost their money is what is criminal. And to hear the many rumors that loans are being made from SSL, which is not designed to be a bank, in that the investment bank that gives loans. So if these things are happening and are true, then they're in violation of their charter. I've been waiting a while to see what the entire charter of SSL looks like, and I have not been able to put my hands on one. All right. So if you guys can speak to the charter, outline what they can or cannot do, then we can proceed safely in saying that certain rules of the road were totally violated.
Okay. Ratty?
Yes, sir. Well, the way I agree with her that you know, we need to put Mr. Warmington aside, because whatever he said about the former prime minister, it now put food or take a food off of somebody's table. But when we start talking about the other issues, them now, those are the issues affecting the Jamaican people, and those are the issues I would like to spend my time discussing. Now, when we talk about, when I look at the financial debacle, I think of one thing and one thing only, and that is leadership. And along with leadership is responsibility and transparency and accountability. And what I've found is I've found the Minister of Finance to be woefully deficient in those areas. Now, keep in mind that this is a man that we paraded, I say we, the Jamaican government, paraded him around the world, saying that he's the architect of the successful stock market in Jamaica. Now, my good friend Conrad he has a historical perspective, which indicates that he actually, the minister actually inherited that position. But be that as it may, they paraded him around the world. Said this man is a financial genius. He displays good fiscal responsibility, and so on and so forth. Now, when you take over a ministry, first of all, you could have said no, you don't want the ministry. But when you take over a position of authority as a leader, you have to be accountable. And for him to say that he did not get the report that went from FSC to him, even though it was directed to him, he said he didn't see it until, I don't know, recently. Right? He said he searched and searched. He spent 4 or 5 hours searching through documents, and then he found it. I find that to be disingenuous. And here's why. You are responsible for your ministry. Everything. Everything. You cannot parcel out excuses on other people and say, no, this one is responsible for that. No, you are responsible. If you're willing to take the accolades, you should be willing to take the blame. And it happened on his watch, or some of it happened on his watch. And for him to shirk his responsibility and to say, well, he didn't, first of all, he said he didn't know anything about it. And then later on, we come to find out that, yes, there's a report actually sent, and he should have seen it. And so I use one standard when I'm judging leaders. And the standard is this. And the FBI taught me this. It's this. When you're in a position of authority, when you're leading and there's an issue, the only questions you need to ask that leader is, or to point out, is that you knew about it and you did nothing, or you should have known. In this case, we're not quite sure which one it is, because the answers we're getting, they're not consistent. So we're not sure if he knew and did nothing about it. But the one thing we know is that he should have known. So either way, he's responsible. So I don't give him a pass on that. And then also, by extension, you have to ask yourself the question, what did the Prime Minister know about this? because it just seemed too coincidental. I mean, coincidences happen all the time, but sometimes they say that fact is stranger than fiction. But it seems too coincidental that when this report came over, or shortly thereafter, that his account that he opened back in, I think, 2012 or something, 2008. Thank you, sir. That suddenly he decided to close that account. It just seemed too coincidental to me. And so questions need to be asked. Now, if they're going to have the FBI, and I'm sure that when Minister Clark asked for the FBI, I'm sure within a matter of days, people thought about it, and they probably went to him and said, what the hell are you doing? Because as investigators, I said we because I still, even though I'm retired, I was there for almost 30 years. What happens is this: you take investigations to their logical conclusions. You don't stop. You don't stop. And so if they come in and they start to follow this, the Prime Minister will become a person of interest. Simply because, well, he was an investor, and in the timing of the Minister of Finance will definitely be a person of interest. And so this investigation may end up in places that they don't want, where they don't want it to go. Now, if I were in charge of that investigation, I can tell you right now, people would be shaking in their boots. They would be shaking, because the investigation is going to go to its logical conclusion. What that means is that everybody who's involved will be investigated. And so you're going to be looking at records as well. You're going to be looking at telephone records, text records, bank records, all kinds of records we're going to be looking at. Then we're going to interview people. And we may have to use a polygraph. And when all is said and done, and the truth emerges, I guarantee you, if the FBI is allowed to go in and do this investigation, and there are some issues regarding how they come in, when they come in, how they conduct the investigation, and so on and so forth. But assuming that they come in and they lead this investigation, people are going to go to prison. Mark my words.
May I?
Yes.
But Mr. Rattigan, do you think Jamaica being a sovereign state, do you think that the authority would allow the FBI to go and interrogate somebody from up the Vumbava and the Vumbavia of society of Upper Cherry Garden and Narborough?
Well, look, if you don't want that problem, you don't invite the problem in. You don't invite people who will become a problem for you. The moment you start inviting the FBI in, I mean, what do you say to them? Now, there are ways you can negotiate how the investigation is going to be conducted. Is it going to be joint? Will the FBI take the lead, or will the JCF take the lead? I've seen all three. But at the end of the day, the FBI is not going to walk away from a partial investigation. They're going to say, even if it means that the JCF is going to take the lead, there will be requests for information from them so that they can put the full picture together, because there's no such thing as them doing a press conference or going back to Washington and explaining to their superiors that, yes, we have part of the picture. They're going to say, no, you need a full picture, or otherwise it will affect. If couple of things, those agents, they're gonna come under scrutiny, or the Jamaican government will come under scrutiny more than it has, or more than it is right now. Because as you know, in Washington, people by and large think that Jamaica is a corrupt country, and 70% of the people polled in Jamaica said the same thing. They said they believe they live in a corrupt country. So there you have it.
But Mr. Rattigan, before everybody else, before I get the ambassador on, Mr. Rattigan,
yes,
then
sir.
do you think, no, I should ask then. I'm getting to understand that the FBI will be working out of the Dominican office in Dominican Republic.
Yes.
So is it that because of the Minister of Finance is the one who asked for the FBI and not the Minister of National Insecurity and Injustice, Twiddly Dum Dum, and the Prime Minister? Do you think that is why they decided to work out of the Dominican office?
Well, here's the thing: the Minister of Finance publicly said that he's asking the FBI to help. We don't know what the FBI's response is. We have no record of that. True to form, they don't speak. Just like similarly when the Prime Minister came here and he said, I'm going there and I'm going to do this. And up to this point, you haven't heard a single word from the FBI about his coming here and about his return to Jamaica. Nothing, right? So the fact that the Minister of Finance called for it, it really doesn't play into it. I mean, they will be asking questions. Why is he asking and not the Minister of National Security and not the Police Commissioner and not the Prime Minister? They would be asking. But what that tells me is that they do not have something that I've called for years. They do not have a meaningful and an established relationship with the FBI. Because if they did, when the Prime Minister came here, he wouldn't have sat in an auditorium with a whole bunch of worker bees. He would have been sitting in the offices of the various directors. He would have sat with the FBI director in his office at FBI headquarters, right? And so he would have established that personal relationship so that he could pick up the phone and he could call him directly or speak to the deputy director. But when you talk to the worker bees, right, they have to go back. And when they go back, they're going to have to brief. And when they brief, they're not briefing, they're briefing up. For example, it might have been a unit chief who attended. So the unit chief is now going to have to go brief the section chief. Section chief is going to brief the deputy assistant director. Deputy assistant director is going to brief the assistant director. Assistant director is going to brief the executive assistant director. And the executive assistant director is going to brief the director. You see how many levels of briefing right there? You can just imagine how important is that subject when it filters like that. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. They don't have a good working relationship. And by the way, the FBI office that is responsible, has territorial responsibility for that part of the Caribbean, is based in the Dominican Republic. That's true. And Jamaica is, so the person who runs that office is called a legal attaché. That's the State Department term. And the person, his deputy, is called the assistant legal attaché, and that person is in Jamaica. Since 2017, 2018, thereabouts, they put a permanent presence there because before it was a road trip. So the person, whoever it was, would have to fly from the Dominican Republic to come to Jamaica, do business, and then go back. They were based in the Dominican Republic. But this whole thing is just poorly planned, poorly managed. You have the wrong actors on stage asking for the right things. And not only that, you don't ask for it from the platform. People, how many times I have to tell them that? The assistant legal attaché sits at the U.S. Embassy. They could simply just go over there and meet with the person. I don't know if it's a man or woman, but meet with the person. And that's how you do business. This kind of business you don't do in the sunshine. This kind of business, you do it surreptitiously. You go over, you meet with him, you say, listen, this is what I'd like to get done. And then that person is gonna pass the information to the Dominican Republic, or at least notify him. Then it comes to Washington. And in Washington, then it makes it will. But if you have an outstanding, if you have an established, if you have a meaningful relationship, you don't have to do all of that.
So Rattigan,
Yes.
when the Prime Minister came to Washington, it shouldn't be the Commissioner of Police. It should be the National Security Minister accompanying him, right?
You're absolutely correct. And not only that, don't think when they walked into that room, those people there didn't know that the police commissioner has a 91 disapproval rating. And that the Minister of National Security has a 93% disapproval. Don't think they didn't know that. That's not lost on them. And so, and I've done these meetings many times. When I'm sitting in that room and that information comes to me, and by the way, they have that information, I would start thinking, and I would say to my boss, I said, why should we trust this man? His own people, they think he's a failure. So why should we give him access to our information, our technology, our tools of the trade, our sources? No. And then the Prime Minister, when he came, to me, it was a disgrace. And it shows the incompetence of the current Jamaican ambassador to the United States, Audrey Marks. It shows how incompetent she is, because when you are responsible for making sure that all of these meetings are arranged and all that stuff, for your principal coming, you want to make sure he sees the right people and the right issues are raised. So, for example, when I was overseas and the FBI director would come, it was my job to get that folder, to make sure that I set up all the meetings for him. I delineate all the issues. And when he came, guess what he did? One of the first things he did, either I met him on the plane, or if he had to go to a meeting from the airport, I would go on the aircraft and meet him. Give him his briefing, tell him, okay, you're going to be meeting this person, that person. Here are the issues. Here are things you stay away from. Here are things you impress upon them. Here's what needs to be done. And you give them a complete briefing. But the meeting would be set up for him to meet that particular person, not sit in a room with a whole bunch of people. Do you think the FBI is going to make a commitment in a room full of people? Say,
no.
Yes, we're going to come and help. No.
Photo happen.
No.
Ambassador, hold on. Ambassador, when you were the ambassador, something like this setting up, what would you do to set up a meeting like this?
Well, let me make a big correction there. I was not ambassador to Washington.
Oh,
I did not have bilateral.
for the UN.
So, but certainly, when the Prime Minister came to New York when I was at the UN, we would have prepared a briefing book for the Prime Minister, and we would have sat down with him and go over what we briefed, both in writing and orally, and to answer any questions he may have. And as Rattigan said, to show him where he shouldn't go or what he shouldn't do. But I want to get back a little bit to the whole idea of inviting the FBI and what the Jamaican government should expect. And I'm sure Rattigan is better able to speak of this. But the FBI is not going to come in and just accept, here is a file or there is a file. This is what we want you to look through. No, they want access, cyber access to the records. They want to be able to trace where the funds move from, where they move to, including any funds that have been moved into any U.S. financial institution. So when they think this is just an investigation of a local event, of a local issue, it could blow up in their face and become an issue where the U.S. financial system has been abused to hide ill-gotten gains. That's money laundering. And anyhow you give the FBI access to the records, they are going to want to go deep and make that determination. Because one of their primary concerns is not to protect the Jamaican financial system, but to protect the integrity of the American financial system. And here is what we should be looking out for. If the FBI does indeed participate in this investigation, it is not going to be a whitewash. Trust me.
Conrad?
Yes. I want to put on the table here that the fact that at the initial stage, the Minister of Finance said there was no communique from the FSC to his office or to him. And now, at a later date, he came up to the Jamaican people and said, indeed, there was, as the newspaper Jamaica Gleaner carries today, that the communique was sent both in hard copy and soft copy by way of email. Therefore, how does the complexion of all of this changes now? What's the difference it makes now when the minister was saying, listen, there was no communique, hence the executive director lost his job, and now we're recognizing that indeed that communique was sent from 2019 to the minister. How you gentlemen look at it now? Is there any what's the responsibility? Does this meet the threshold of saying that the minister should look at maybe pending his resignation, or we're not there yet?
let me add to that, Conrad. I know Marshall want to get in here. You have in 2015 4 American investors put the money into SSL, and their money came up short. They complained to the U.S. Embassy in Kingston, and an investigation was done back then. So we know that SSL has a history of misplacing people's money. In 2017, KPMG did an audit, and with that audit, you have a report that faults the FSC for failure to do the audit functions, and inevitably that responsibility runs back to whom? The Minister of Finance. Because if this event occurred in 2015, I need to be aware of all the transgressions that occurred before. And if I hear now that there's a bad report out from KPMG, a notable accounting firm, I want to know what corrections were made. Apparently, this man see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil, because he came out firing, saying he wasn't aware of any reports. And his staff receive a report, and you have to then not just assume, it's just about mandatory that they have a briefing on that report at the Ministry of Finance level. And he can't come back now and say, oh, the only reason he came back is because he found out the receipt of the report by his personal staff was documented. That's when people usually come back and say, oh, I just remember, right? Because if you have briefings on this subject, it's going to stick with you. 2015, 2017, 2021, when the PM pulled his money out, I think that's when the trigger got pulled. In 2021, September, when the PM pulled his money out. I believe it's possible that when the PM came to Washington, he was getting the lowdown on SSL. I don't think it's a trick. I think that's very, very possible. And that they were forced into sounding the alarm when they went back home.
Sir Herb, you mentioned before the person that had connection with the US that would have lost money or had concern with their money back then. Would it be fair for us to deduce that by virtue of that, the FBI could be on this trail way before the call was made for them to come in?
Yes.
Okay, let me go back to my intelligence background, because I didn't tell people about that. I did 15 and a half years with U.S. intelligence. Whether the FBI knew or not, it's in the system. U.S. intelligence routinely picks these things up. They routinely do track and tracing on these matters, and they hold it for a rainy day. So when Trump's ambassador came to Jamaica and was able to push NIA Director Trevor Monroe aside and have him to stop investigating the leader of opposition and the PM, it was because they used rainy day information, right? They used information about all the monies that was picked up in Mexico City and trafficked and laundered through St. Lucia and Barbados. They knew about SSL. So let's not, monkey around thinking that they don't know. They know. We know. We collect.
What could be the worst case scenario here, Sir Herb, bringing this to its logical conclusion? What could be the worst case scenario here as it relates to, you know, the structure of governance here in Jamaica?
The structure of governance in Jamaica is that the U.S. want the Chinese out, and they want to stop the Chinese progress. They want control. They want a footing. So if this gives them that footing, then you'll see certain countermeasures to the Chinese occurring, even if they have to buy out Chinese contracts in Jamaica and give Jamaica the money to pay back to the Chinese. You will see these kind of movements.
So, Sir, I told him this long ago, more than one time on my platform, that the Chinese in the backyard of the US, it's very troubling.
It's unacceptable.
I know, because Chinese spreading their wings, and it's like them fighting a soft war now. You know, like we'd have Cold War back in the days. I told them, yeah, you come, you know, you just come, you know, let the people that know what I'm saying, that, you know, Lonesome correct from morning, you know. You understand, with the Chinese.
You hit a good point.
Hold on, Sir Herb. Me tell them also that the Chinese, most of them, I know you see them as work. A lot of them they are agents. I am wrong or I am right. A lot of them are agents.
You're right. People's Liberation Army, they deploy them all over the world, wherever Chinese interest is. That's how they protect their interests.
Let me just add one quick thing to that regarding the Chinese. We're too licky when it comes to the Chinese. Why do I say that? We allow the Chinese to build our Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade headquarters down on, I think, Little Port Royal Street.
That's dangerous.
Yeah,
yes, you cannot have, this is counterintelligence 101. Herb is a master at this. Herb write book on this. Herb can tell you about this. You do not have a foreign government come in and build a ministry like that, the headquarters. You know why? Because all kinds of things go there. And I tell you what, the American government, the Five Eyes, let me just say, the American government will not have any meeting of substance, and any other, well, I can tell you, the Canadian, the UK, American, the German, none of these people will have meetings of substance in that building. None of them. If they do, it's to send a different signal. But it's not because
I remember the 5G,
the Yahweh.
Huawei.
No, I'm talking about the Five Eyes. I'm talking about the Five Eyes countries. Herb know about them.
New Zealand, Australia.
Yeah, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the UK, and the US. Right. Yeah, they're very
I'm aware. I'm just throwing into the mix the conflict with
right.
the 5G.
No, I've been told that when that building was built using majority Chinese labor, they don't know, they have nobody overlooking the work to see if devices were being placed in that building, right? And I'm willing to bet you that there are devices in that building. And what happened is that when the building was finished, I was told that they didn't build the proper sewage system coming out of that building, and that the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, that she actually went to the U.S. Embassy to ask for money to help complete the project. And because this is, we may have some youngsters watching this program, I don't want to tell you what I heard the U.S. ambassador said to her, but it was insulting to her. Insulting. So that's why I said too licky, because what they should have done is say, look, that money that you're going to use and build that building, build a training center, build some schools. Oh, you guys are building roads? Well, tell you what, we have some bad interior roads. So why don't you have them come build out them roads? Those are things that they should have done. Instead of them go build this building, and them can't really use it.
If I'm not mistaken, and Ambassador can back me up on this, I think the opposition had some question on that, a bit of objection to that. Am I correct, Ambassador? Could you?
Yes, well, lots of people had questions. I myself raised that issue in a speech I gave in 2019 at the University of the West Indies, because it is absolute folly. And yes, Herb, and Will, yes, Jamaica should have had people in there following the construction, but the sophistication of the Chinese would have made any kind of supervision by Jamaicans as useless. But there's no way, as you quite rightly said, none of the flyby countries are going to hold any substantive meeting other than a courtesy call on the foreign minister. None of those ambassadors will say anything in that building, because everything will be transmitted back to China one way or the other.
Right.
May I?
Marcel.
Yes. I have a question towards Mr. Rattigan. Maybe Herb can answer it also. May I ask you this question? Do you believe that the finance minister performed a major magic trick at the press briefing when he made the pronouncement about the invitation of the FBI? Do you believe it was just a PR stunt? Because most of these government officials are PR specialists. What is your take on that?
Well, earlier, sorry to cut in right here, but earlier, I was going to say this is nothing more than a political announcement. It wasn't thought through, but when the entire global community and all of Jamaica and the whole of the Caribbean is looking at this debacle in Jamaica, and they are seeing corruption, they are seeing incompetence, they are seeing lack of transparency. And in order to assure the financial sector and other investors in Jamaica, the government wanted to make this grand announcement that this is going to be a thorough investigation, people will be held accountable, and therefore we have invited the FBI to come in and help us to do this investigation. It was a political stunt which is going to backfire.
Let me just say this. When you put a clown in the headmaster's chair, you don't have school, you have a circus. You have a circus. And this is exactly what we have right now. We have a circus, we have a comedy of errors going on over there. And I agree, unless I can see something else, I agree that this was nothing more than a political stunt. Because if he's calling for the FBI, where is the FBI? I mean, the FBI, they're able to move resources overnight. I mean, I've been a part of it. Because that's why they pay you when the FBI, they pay you overtime, you know, whether you work it or not, you get paid overtime. Because when they call, you respond, and you're on duty 24 hours, 7 days a week. Doesn't matter if there's a holiday or not, right? So if he called for it and they were responding, they should have been there by now. We're not getting anything on the ground that they're there. At least if they're there, they're not in sufficient numbers that would warrant someone saying, yes, there's an active investigation going on. So I think based on what I'm seeing right now, that this is just political, so they can say, yes, we called in for the FBI. But if they really want to do it, what they should do is the Minister of Finance, and in fact, he should be on the side. It should be the Minister of National Security and the Prime Minister, right? And what they should do is they should have a joint press conference with the FBI and say, listen, the FBI is here and they're serious about this investigation. We're going to get to the bottom of this. And when we're done, we're going to have a press conference and we're going to give the Jamaican people information that unclassified information. We can sanitize the report. We don't have to give them every detail because some things will be classified. But as best we can, we will give them a report that people will feel confident that there's something took place, it was investigated, and we're well on our way. Now, here's one thing that they should be careful of. The FBI decided to investigate international corruption. And so they have an international corruption unit in Washington, Miami, New York, and LA. They have to be very careful now that they're calling in the FBI because, as the ambassador said, once it's been determined that ill-gotten gains touch the American banking system, the SWIFT banking system, which most countries use, that gives the FBI jurisdiction. So they can actually bring their own case in the US. And wouldn't that be
one minute, Ratty, 1 minute. Someone you can mute your mic. I hear some feedback.
Everybody probably should mute except the speaker. That
Okay,
way you
got you now. Got you, Ratty.
right. They should. I said, wouldn't it be a sight to behold that they bring in the FBI, and then the next thing you know, the U.S. Attorney's Office out of Miami, they have either sealed indictments or they file charges, and then when these MPs, you know, they love to fly to Miami for the weekend and show off, and some of them have property in the U.S. as well. That when they fly there, they grab them just as how they grab the Prime Minister of the British West Indies, the BWI. They grab them. Wouldn't it be a sight to behold that you bring in the FBI and now they're arresting some of the same people calling for the FBI? They're being arrested on U.S. side. I would rejoice.
Yeah, Herb.
Wayne.
Yes.
Wayne?
Yes, man, hearing you.
Wait till Mr. Herb respond, no?
Wayne identified who was to speak, please. You're the moderator.
Respond, please. Herb.
Herb mic gone.
No, your mic mute.
Herb, your mic is gone.
Your mic mute.
Mute.
Unmute your mic.
All right, I've unmuted now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, in the region of the Caribbean where Jamaica is, it's divided up, and who runs the Jamaica section is Homeland Security Investigations. They are a federal agency. They investigate over 230 different cross-border crimes, which includes what happened in 2015. And they do have the FBI assistant legate, as well as ATF, as well as DEA, as well as the RSO, Regional Security Officer. At the embassy, the nucleus forms a law enforcement community. But the main office that is responsible for investigations, cross-border crimes between the U.S. and Jamaica, is the Homeland Security Investigation. They are federal agents. Their 1811 job description, very similar to the FBI. They can do a lot of cases that the FBI does, but sometimes they have a preference of not to take long-term cases, which the FBI is very good at. And this would appear to be a long-term case, right?
All right. The follow-up question I want to ask is, how can we find out what the rules of engagement, if in fact the FBI was called into lead investigation or in whatever capacity? So how can we verify if it was a genuine announcement or not?
I don't believe it's genuine. I think it's another, they draw a carcass across the trail, and the dog pick up that smell and following that, and we are the dogs, right? So they throw us off the trail again. We've got to stick to the facts out there.
Herb and
Conrad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make this simple point here. We're on this platform, and I am on mainstream readers. Others here do on various things, and we have been making the calls week on, week off. And we must understand that although persons are not going to come out and give us the accolades and say X, Y, and Z, the credit, but people listen. Now, immediately after I concluded an investigation with Ralston Hyman a few weeks ago, exactly at 12 o'clock, the call was made, and they sent in an interim manager at SSL. That was the FSC did that. Wil Rattigan and myself, and Jeffery as well, we have been, everybody, we have been on various platforms calling for the FBI to be brought in. Could it be that the pressure was so much and this was actually reverberating in such a way that this was just a knee-jerk reaction where I said, boy, the call is making faster and furious, you know, let's call in the FBI. What about that theory?
Jeffrey?
You know, it's a good thing that Conrad touched on that point, because the call was made on the Make We Talk Jeffery Tavares YouTube and also on Roots FM. And we all know that the politicians that listen to the talk shows, especially the ones that is not really filtered. You know, it's quite interesting that the Minister of Finance in his press conference could come out and say that. As what our good friend, the great-grandson from St. Thomas, who her grandfather led the rebellion, as what he said, to me, it is a political stunt, as what Ambassador Ward said also. It is a photo-op thing to say, okay, Wil Rattigan, Big Mouth, Jeffery Tavares, and Fireman call for the FBI, so we're going to do it. Doing it is one. Doing it is one. Are you going to allow the Federal Bureau of Investigation to investigate from down at Negril Point to Moran Point, all the way to the Blue Mountain, Pete Drunkerhead Mountain? Are you, if the FBI say that a member of the Vumva of Upper St. Catherine, Upper Cherry Garden, is involved in money laundering, are you going to allow the FBI to interrogate them? If a member of parliament is involved in the SSC saga, is the government of Jamaica going to allow them to investigate the member of parliament to ask questions
SSL.
on Jamaican soil? SSL? On Jamaican soil? That's a question we must ask. Is the Prime Minister of this country going to allow them to happen? Is the twiddly-dum-dum Commissioner of Police and the one who is now Minister of National Security, twiddly-dumbass, who don't have a relationship with his foreign counterpart, yet he's a Minister of National Security and Injustice? Want to see what's going on in this country? The only place he can travel to is St. Lucia. We're faced with a problem in this country.
My good friend Jeff.
Go ahead.
As Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI senior agent, and also Sir Herb, who is a security expert and intelligence expert, said earlier, I think they gave the answer to that question that you put forward already, because they said once the FBI is invited, and Herb also talked about another level of intelligence that would be there. So definitely the FBI would be on top of it. Once they come in, you could not basically, you know, say, listen, just touch here and don't go there. Once they proceed, that's what I'm getting from Mr. Rattigan. Hold on. That's what I'm getting from Mr. Rattigan. That is their jurisdiction. That's how they operate. And let's face it, Jamaica, little Jamaica would be in no position to basically push back against the FBI major apparatus.
No, but hold on, Conrad. Hold on, Conrad. Jamaica is a sovereign state, you know, although you invite them in, you can tell them what to do and what not to do. Am I wrong, Mr. Rattigan?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, but all of these things would have to be worked out before you make the announcement that you're asking for assistance. You'd have to reach out. See, what I'm saying is that this is you know, putting the cart before the horse, because you would have to go sit with the assistant legal attaché, go over all of these things, maybe have the legal attaché from Dominican Republic fly to Jamaica and you sit down with them, and then you go over what you need to get done, and then you move forward, and then you don't move forward in this way, in this manner. And by the way, the Prime Minister came the other day to meet with the FBI. Why doesn't he call his counterpart at the FBI? He came and he, you know, with much fanfare. Why doesn't he? Because he never meet with the right people. Never meet with and there's nobody him can call. So now all of a sudden now it's within the bailiwick of the Minister of Finance. I've never seen this. I've never seen this.
But he can call you, yeah.
Well, they don't wanna call me for obvious reasons because see, I'm a no nonsense kind of person.
And there's a fly on the wall.
Right. I know exactly. Oh, thanks for saying that, Jeffrey, because here's another thing I need to make clear. Lonesome. So I need to make this clear to your listening audience because I think everyone here in the panel knows this. There's nothing going on in Jamaica that the US government doesn't know about. Nothing. Nothing. And I'll repeat, nothing going on that they don't know about. Right? So they were afraid of me that they say, oh, you know, him come down there and him collect information. Look, some of the same people sitting next to some of the same influential people that we're talking about. Some of those people are providers of information. There's nothing that the US government doesn't know what's going on down there. Nothing. So when they come down there, these people can't lie to them. They can't lie to them. I mean, they can lie to them, but the fact of the matter is that there is something called a 1001 violation, and if you lie to a federal officer, you know, and a lot of people in prison right now, you know, they were suspected of being drug dealers, money launderers, child molesters, rape, all kinds of things, but they're not in prison for that charge. They're in prison for lying to a federal officer.
True.
Right? So them can't lie. But I need people to understand this, that everything that is going on. Oh, if you don't believe me, folks, take a read of there's a certain position at the US Embassy called the Regional Security Officer, RSO. Just go and read that report from that person. Him know more about what's going on in Jamaica than the Commissioner of Police.
You mean the Commissioner of no police?
Well, that might be an adequate description, but
the right description is just a Google Gaga, and we don't.
and twiddly dum dum.
well, that is no police.
I think Ambassador wanted to say something, Wayne.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ambassador, just before you said something, maybe you can add this one to it because this is interesting. The report that said J. Olness got $1 million in loan from SSL. Everybody remember that?
Yes.
Snippet. Yes. All right. Now, J. Olness turned out to be not the person people would normally want to think about, but it's a lady who is connected to Fitz Jackson of the opposition party. So maybe the ambassador may want to address that. Does that mean, in essence, there was a free for all at SSL?
I would like to speak on that as well.
Okay. And I would like to speak as well. I have a source who gave me some information.
I would like to speak on that as well.
And I would like to speak on it as well too.
Because I spoke to the direct source, and hold on. The conversation that is being made
but the ambassador haven't speakers yet.
Timeline. Hold on, man. Just allow me to speak that the timeline that a lot of people are gleaning on, you know, being joyful and getting our frenzy over. That lady and Mr. Jackson severed ties in terms of a relationship from 2007.
Oh, for God's sake, Conrad.
Hold on. What is that?
What is that? Finish.
No. Hold on. I am not guessing. I am telling you the facts, and the timeline is important. And I notice whenever certain things raises, some people jump up in the air.
Yes, me jump up in the air. Because I defend the People's National Party too much.
Jeffrey, just let him finish, all right? Come on, guys.
I'm saying that the timeline. I did not finger anyone. I didn't finger anyone. I'm just speaking, all right? I'm saying that that's my information, and it is most credible. So the timeline is important. And that conversation, that relationship has nothing to do with Fitz and the lady. So it must be separated.
Okay.
All right, Ambassador.
Wow, I kind of forget what I wanted to talk about. But I can't give any direct answer to that particular question because I do not have the facts. And I only speak on facts. But again, I want someone raised the point that at some point the government may cut off the FBI from information. But that's not going to be possible. Because once the FBI starts digging in, the FBI is going to probe any connection that there is to the US banking system. Any corruptly acquired gains deposited in any US bank becomes an issue of money laundering, and the FBI is going to investigate that independently of any of the SSL issue. When I say independently, independent of what Jamaica wants them to investigate. I think the British will do the same in terms of the use of Cayman banks, that any of these ill-gotten gains may be deposited. The British MI5 is likely to have access to those banks and the records of those banks. So once these investigations begin, whether it be FBI, MI5, or any of these foreign investigative services, I maintain what I said before. It could blow up in the face of the government because people who we don't know are connected at this moment in time may turn out to be connected, and it will not be a pretty picture. I'm going to have to run because I thought I'd have been able to leave by 9:30. I just want to say
Ambassador, before you run, right? I could just take in a call. 1876 419 2693. Just ask the question before the ambassador run. Yeah? I could just put on the number. You can just ask a question. WhatsApp.
What's your question?
Call me right now because the ambassador have to run, right? Yes, man. Any question for the ambassador before we run? You can just call right now, right? Yeah, man.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on the program.
Hold on. Hello?
Good night, sir.
Yes, good night.
On the panel. Yes. What I'm saying, can any of the individual who lost money contact the FBI themselves?
Ambassador, you can answer that for me?
I couldn't hear the question.
You said, can any of the individual who lost money contact the FBI themselves?
Can you repeat the question for me?
Can you repeat the question? Turn on your yes, turn on your TV or something when you're talking, yeah? Can you repeat the question?
Yes, what I'm saying, good night again. Can we turn it on?
Yes.
Still hearing it?
No, go on, talk.
Can any of the individual who lost their income, can them personally, any ordinary person can contact the FBI?
You want to answer that?
Well, if you're going to contact the FBI, you have to have something to tell them, such as you know of a connection between who took your money and that the money has a connection to the United States, such as deposited in a U.S. financial institution. Otherwise, I don't see how. I mean, you can always send messages, but I don't know how much of a response you're going to get. Rattigan probably will be able to.
Let me take a stab at it, Ambassador. If the person is a naturalized U.S. citizen and they've lost money, just like the
Oh yes,
people back
I
in
understand that.
2015. Yeah.
Certainly.
Then
I was answering this from the perspective of some
From
victim
Hold
in
on a
Jamaica.
minute. Hold on. Yeah, finish talk.
Yes, good night. How are you?
Yes, good night.
Yes, good evening, good night.
Yes.
It's the first time really tuning into the station, and I must applaud you men for what you are doing and enlightening a lot of Jamaicans, because it's time that Jamaica recognize what is happening and stop allowing the government to manipulate them. When I'm a Jamaican living overseas, and to be honest, when I look at all that's happening, it is really a disgrace, because Jamaicans are behaving as if they're afraid to stand up for their rights and to get these MPs and politicians to be accountable for what they are doing.
You want to ask a question, or you want to ask a question to anyone of the panel, anyone member of the panel? Yes.
Well, my question is, do the government are put this way, independence? Should Jamaica really have independence, or is independence beneficiary to Jamaica?
Is it beneficial to Jamaica? Okay.
Or just the politicians?
Okay, just sit back and just listen the answer for that, yes? Who want to take that up?
All right, let me take a job at it. First thing to begin with, I truly believe in Jamaican independence, and we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Over the last 60 years of our independence, we have achieved a lot. When we get independence, it was just a few high school around and very little access to secondary school education and so on. That is in itself is a plus. And, you know, I could go on and on. But what I can say is that politician, and it would be, some people would say successive politicians or successive administration have basically take a lot for granted, and we could have gotten better bang for the buck for our taxpayers' dollars in as to how it has been administrated by our politicians. We have seen where over $100 billion per year goes into corruption. That's about 5% of GDP. And certainly, when you look at that alone, we could have more schools, more hospital, more dialysis machines and bed for people in the hospital and so on. So if you take it from that vantage point, certainly there's a lot to be desired as it relates to how our politicians govern. But I am not one to prepare to say that we shouldn't have independent and we have not achieved anything at all. Certainly we have.
May I say something here? Go ahead, Will.
Yeah. It's more like what I'm about to say is more like a commentary, and it's also like a rhetorical question. How can you say you're independent when the document you rely on for your independence came from England? That document is not a homegrown document. That document came from England. And in that same document, there are certain provisions being made. Not for Jamaicans like me. For example, if I wanted to come back to Jamaica and let's say contest a seat in Jamaica, I would have to give up the US citizenship. However, if someone from a Commonwealth country decided to come to Jamaica, they could just go in and establish residency and then run in the election, and then that's it. But I am barred.
But that's a different matter, Ratty.
No, we're talking about the Constitution as a result of our independence. That's what we're talking about. And so here's another thing.
It isn't what happened.
Hold on, Conrad. You finished that, Conrad?
Just relax, no man.
But you need to hold on, man.
Oh no, hold on. Make him finish, Ratty finish, and then Conrad the answer about that.
Okay. Okay. Now, in that same document that we hold so dearly, the document we call the Constitution, I submit to you that most of Jamaica have not read that document. Because in that document, it clearly says that even though you're independent, the head of state is the Queen. In today, it's the King. And we always say that there's no one above the law. We talk about that in Jamaica. In that same document that we're talking about, it says, yes, there's one person that's above the law in Jamaica, and that is the Governor General. So when you say that when people say that they're independent, I don't buy that we're independent. What I think happened was that it became too expensive as an outpost for England. And so them just say, okay, fine, no problem. But at the same time, they say we cannot completely release them. So we will prepare a document for them that will preserve our interest in it. And that's why you have somebody like the Governor General who has more power than the Prime Minister. He has more power than anyone who's elected by the people of Jamaica, where he can do whatever he feels like and you cannot take him to court. His boss is the King.
Right,
and by the way, I'm planning.
Come in left, right, and center, you know. So make we take some more call. Hold on a minute.
Not in Conrad want to make a statement.
Good night.
Yes, got you. Carla come in left, right, and center.
All right. Yeah, the question.
Hold on, Carla. Yes.
The money that the Prime Minister said he did borrow the loan and didn't declare his asset. And now him come say him did have loan in there. That's not, so that will account to go to prison for that?
Let me just make them answer. That's just, because that Carla come in. So
all right, let me respond to, hold on, let me respond, because I'm on the panel here. I don't know that the Prime Minister said that he took any loan from SSL. I pulled up the Prime Minister's response from when he addressed the issue back during the election campaign. And what I have in hard black and white is saying that the Prime Minister basically Encash had stocks and bonds there. I know that the argument is being bandied about all over the social media and so on to say that the Prime Minister took loan. I am not aware of that. All the documents that I have seen said that the Prime Minister actually, that's the official document that he encashes you. I'm not saying that's not so, but I have to speak to the facts as I know it.
Conrad is right. Conrad is right, Wayne.
Hold on, let me take a next call. Yeah, hello. Yes.
Hello, good night, Mr. Lonesome.
Yes.
Panel.
Yes.
So, Wilfred,
good night.
Rattigan, Herb Nelson, and Mr. Tavares.
Mm.
This was saga. The name is Chuck, calling from Antigua Bay. This was
yes, Mr. Chuck.
Under the SSL. And the fact that the government, and in terms of Nigel Clark and the rest of them, I said they don't know anything about it in the first place. Now it has come out that the government has invested our money in this thing. When did they invest it? Question is, how can we find out when did they invest the money? How much they invested in the first place? How much money, if any, was taken off of it? What has become of that money if they took anything off of it?
Very, very good question, Carl. Very good question.
Hang up and listen, because enough people are calling. Now just hang up and listen.
Very good. This is Conrad responding. Very, very good question. Very, very good question, caller. And I believe that we have put that out there in the public domain, but it's very good to hear you echoing it, and I think that should be answered post haste. When did the government, the agencies invest those money and how much? What the balance that we got, is it the official balance or any money was siphoned off that? I believe that should come to the Jamaican people by the latest Tuesday, maybe through the parliament.
Okay. Other caller. Hold on. Yes, caller. Yes, Carla.
Yeah. I want to say, I'm a Jamaican living abroad, and I would like to know where do we go from here? Because we're in a turning point in our country now, and I think it's a good thing because this has been going on since I was born, and I haven't seen no changes. And I would just like to know where do we go from here, because this is definitely a change. I would like it to be a change for the better. So I'd like someone to answer that for me, please.
All right, hang up and listen to the answer.
If I may, and in my own little humble way, there is something being done right now with Wil Rattigan, Conrad O'Brien on the New Start 93 FM, Wayne Lonesome on this program, yours truly, Jeffery Tavares on Roots 96.1 FM, and also on the Make We Talk Jeffery Tavares YouTube channel. The time has come for us in this country, as Jamaicans, to think about this little piece of rock we call home. As I always said, I'm not a member of any political party in this country. I'm not a PNP nor a JLP. I'm a Jamaican, and Jamaica come first for me. And until we come together in this country and think about this country of ours, and don't think about a political party, then Jamaica will not come to Jamaica we want it to be. Now, to the question that you asked, if we, the people in this country, demand accountability, and when I say demand accountability, if we demand that the Federal Bureau of Investigation come in, and we demand that they are given the full force to investigate this SSL saga, I think if they investigate this SSL saga the right and proper way, it will be a turning point in Jamaica. It will be a turning point in the sense that we'll find out who is involved, and who is involved of the Vumva and the Vumva V. They must tell us where they get the money from, like politicians. And somebody must go to prison. If the money cannot be paid back, allow the FBI to investigate the right and proper way, and who to go prison, go prison.
All right, I'm going to take a next call, Jeffrey. Hold on. Yes, hello? Carla.
Good night to the panel.
I'm here, brother.
Yeah, I love the reason and I love the information I get. But what would I like to ask to see? The Bank of Jamaica governor, them say he might take over FSC. Will he be getting that $18 million that the person before was getting? And can we trust the Senate if they are the one that choose those people and set the laws that govern the financial system?
All right, just go and listen to them questions. Yeah, man, some answers. Cool. Yeah, man, cool. That very good question that, because the Bank of Jamaica governor, right? He might take over. Him get Bank of Jamaica governor get over $30 million.
Yes.
I know. And then the FSC, the board
get $18 million.
So I wonder if they might do pay him that salary too on top of this. I ask them in Jeffrey. No, go that alone. We want to know who the SSL bank with, who are them commercial bank. Because this man from Bank of Jamaica, him used to run the surgical work.
Yes.
So we want
Richard
to know of our NCB. We want to know that too. That's a very interest there, So we want to know that too, You understand? Yes. Got you.
That's a very important question.
Yes.
And that question should be put to the Minister of Finance. You see, when these people have these dibby press conference,
Yes.
The women them down in Coronation Market can have a better press conference than these people who have these dibby press conference. You see? And they don't allow the people to ask questions. They pick who and who they send these Zoom links to for us to ask questions. And this is some important questions. Who did SSC bank with? Okay?
Very
And if they give the Bank of Jamaica governor to put in charge of the FSC, that's a conflict of interest. Because the Bank of Jamaica is the one who governs the FSC. They should put an independent person in charge of there.
Jeffrey, we want to know if you're going to get the pay, the 18
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And why I say I don't think so? Why I say I don't think so is because he's already gotten paid, and moreover, he's just put there to oversee the FSC rather. For now, that they can put it back on its ground to say, okay, you all can regulate properly now.
All right, make we hear from Herb. What do you think about it, Herb? This question does short, yes.
The key point here is if the Bank of Jamaica is setting the rules for all banks, all financial institutions in Jamaica, you can't simultaneously have them going down at a lower level and be in operations where if they end up breaking the rules, who's taking a look at that? If they violate any of their own rules, who's taking a look at that? Right? It is not feasible that should occur. I think that they're in a panic mode and they're trying to bring somebody in who has a reputation of being on the upside, upstanding. Now, let me say this in regards to what Conrad said earlier. On the 16th of February of 2016, there is an article in the Gleaner where the Prime Minister declared that he got his funding from ADMAT and different financial sources, right? And the two sources that were mentioned, right, by the NIA and others, one was SSL.
Yes.
So
I agree with you.
Credit
I agree.
from SSL. You know, he said it with his own mouth back then. He's getting credit from SSL.
Yes, credit. Yes. But tell me what, when you remember you'd have a TV, you have the lady that will follow up and see, you know, about credit.
Dora, you're talking.
But the problem goes back to the charter.
Yes.
If they are a chartered investment firm, they have no charter that gives them authorization
to do no loan.
For loans.
No.
So he's saying that he's getting this break all the way back. He got the break back in 2011 when he, did this business. Could be earlier than that, like down to 2007 when he got all this windfall money to do all these wonderful things.
Okay.
He didn't have
money.
We
have a call on the line because so much people
Can I just respond quickly, Wayne?
Yes, go
to the matter that you're talking about. I am not saying that the Prime Minister did not get monies from the SSL. But what I'm saying is that the document that I has didn't show that he got a loan. However, and I'll leave that alone. But back to the FSC and the BOJ.
Yes.
Let's just, by way of information here for our listeners and our viewers, we have two regulatory bodies in Jamaica. The FSC and, the FSC and the BOJ as it relates to the financial institution.
Yes.
The FSC have the regulatory authorities for the commercial bank, or what we describe as a deposit-taking institution, and that's the BOJ. I'm sorry, and the FSC has for the non-banking institution, which are the investment houses, such as SSL, etc., etc. Now, one must also bear in mind that the problem that we're seeing here with this debacle. It's not about persons put their money in stocks and those stocks go berserk in terms of they plummeted to the lowest level. It's as a result of people stealing money. Also, what we're finding out now is because the regulatory body did not act swiftly enough in terms of sending an interim manager like what they do now, or basically close down the institution. So that's what it is. So for the finance minister to come and draw what in my view is a red herring, to say basically we're going to send BOJ in there. The fact is that if you move it to BOJ and people act in the same cavalier way like they did at FSC, it would make no difference because it's not a lack of structure. It's not a lack of system. The FSC has the relevant mechanism to deal with it. And here we're getting some more information that they had indeed acted contrary to what the finance minister said initially, that he had no communique from them. And those are some of the matters that we must hold true and hold persons' feet to account.
Can we have more caller? Jeffrey, me could take a call and then your answer, right? Hold on. Can we have more caller them line up? Go ahead, caller.
All right, good night. This is Sheldon, a regular on the program. I'm glad you guys came out because honestly, I'm a person from the inner city who was once dubbed as a gunman that should be killed by the police. All right? A lot of persons in Jamaica, we don't know how important we are. And that's why you have an election where people have to vote. So I'm glad you came on the show tonight so that everybody can see that we have a choice. And what I want Jamaica to know, and tell me if anybody on the panel disagree with it, I want everybody in Jamaica to know, and the diaspora, I want everybody to know that we, the people, have more power than the FBI, than the police, than the government, than everybody. The power belongs to the people. And Paula Llewellyn dubbed us TV land. Andrew Holness acts as if he's God. And what I want us to do, because I have an effect on what is happening tonight, just by influence. What I want Jamaica to do, we want to show Andrew Holness and the Labour government that we know that we have the power. The diaspora, the remittance is the number one income in Jamaica. Andrew Holness, we know you're the listener, Sheldon attack. We want to boycott Western Union and remittance for a period of time. Not that we want to starve our families, but we want to send a strong message that we are aware that we're the number one income in Jamaica, where we can get a period of 3 months or 2 months where we're not going to send $1 to Jamaica. We're going to make sure we send money from now so they can stock up on food and whatever they need, but we're going to simultaneously choose 2 to 3 months, or even 2 to 3 months, where we're not going to send $1 to Jamaica, where the PSOJ and everybody can come together and get rid of this Labour government before we become Sri Lanka.
Get rid of all of them. Get rid of all of them.
Do it one government at a time, Jeffrey. Stop the foolishness now.
Don't tell me nonsense.
Stop the foolishness now. One government at a time.
Let me finish here. Hold on, let me finish. Yes, finish.
Sheldon.
Jeffrey and Conrad, trust me, I understand the passion. If you listen to this program regularly, we know that Sheldon share the same passion. But what we're doing tonight, we want everybody to see that we have the power. We not ask Andrew Holness to leave, We're going to make him leave. How do we make him leave? No money now send, no business now go on, nothing now. Him own a friend, them go kick him out. And we, the people, have the power. I'm glad the FBI is involved. However, the power that we have, the FBI does not, because Jamaica cannot stipulate anything to us what we can and cannot do. Jamaica is a sovereign state for the FBI, but not for us, the citizens and the people who are nationalities are Jamaican. We have more power than anybody else. And how do we show our power? With our money. And that is why when we come to some program, I like to donate because I like for people to see the power that we have in our dollars. And we have to use our money to make Andrew Holness see that we are your boss, not the other way around. How comes we are Andrew Holness boss? Because I feel we money pay a fee. And without our money, he does not have a job. Without our vote, he does not have a job. So it's full-time Andrew Holness realize, not even him, it's full-time Jamaica realize the power that we have. And stop make them $5,000 vote at them. And them idiot, they make we feel like we're misguided. We need to choose 2 months where we now send $1 to Jamaica. And I'm sure Andrew Holness will be gone quicker than the FBI can do it.
All right, thanks, Sheldon.
Yeah, Sheldon.
Hold on there.
Answer you know. Hold on there. Herb.
The fact is the callers is on the mark. $3.3 billion was a $1 billion increase over the amount from the previous year. And the fact is that money helped to keep Jamaica afloat during the COVID. Had we allowed Jamaica to fail, I'm talking about the U.S. diaspora, right? The input from the U.S. diaspora. I don't know what UK did. I don't know what Canada did. I don't know what the EU or other parts of the world did. But the U.S. showed its power. The diaspora people here showed its power by contributing, answering the clarion call of Babsy Grange and everybody else who was crying the blues that they're about to fail. So the caller has a point that if truth has to be told, we can force that issue by withholding future funding, right, until the government comes clean, because we need some resignation. This is serious business. When that FSC chairman resigned, at the same time, Clark should have handed his resignation in, and everybody else who fall behind Clark, to include the Deputy Prime Minister and National Security Minister, and the PM himself should be considering resigning.
Herb.
This thing is out of control.
Herb.
Yeah. Next caller. Enough caller, you'll get more answer.
Yeah, before you take a call away, let me just...
Oh, Jesus, here we go.
Yeah, Soji, talk to me.
Yeah, something Rattigan said earlier about relinquishing passport, right? All right, former Prime Minister who passed away, Edward Sealo, if he born at Boston, in the United States, and it's not a part of the Commonwealth, how did the government at the time or the people allow this man to become Prime Minister in Jamaica? How was that possible?
Good question. Good question.
May I answer that one?
Rattigan him say more answer.
Yeah, I believe because he renounced his U.S. citizenship, because otherwise he wouldn't have been, he could not have been sitting in the parliament. I think there was one parliamentarian who had U.S. citizenship, and a big stink was made about it. I believe it was Darrell Vaz, and so he had to renounce his U.S. citizenship in order to sit in or continue to sit in parliament. Short answer.
Police are call me, so them want put in a question. Hold on, but just seem to say put in a question. Hold on there. Let me just knock him back because I'm call me say a missed call. Pay call come in, So if you just answer it and move fast, Yeah, man. You could just see what I say. Yeah? Invest your time. Come on, but me see a missed call. Me just see right. Invest your time. Yeah? We have a lot of missed call, because them are coming like rapid.
In the meantime,
may I ask a question?
Yes.
Wayne.
Yes.
In the meantime, would you all agree that based on what is happening, and it seems as if the confidence in the government seems to be waning, you believe that the proper thing for the PM to do is basically to go to the poll and ask the Jamaican people for a fresh mandate, so they decide as to whether or not they want to keep him or they want to elect a new government? You think that's an option that the Prime Minister should exercise?
Well, make I just answer that quick to you. Say them supposed to have local government election and that cancel, right?
No, so we're not talking about the local. We're talking about the general election.
No, I mean, yes, I mean, with no confidence, the Prime Minister should do that. Should have been first choice, don't it? Eh?
What do you think, Sir Herb?
No, unmute your mic, Sir Herb. Unmute the mic.
Yeah, when the election, local government election canceled, apparently they run out of money. They had all this money that came in from the slush fund in St. Lucia for the general election in 2020. So let's say they didn't have enough money to do the same thing they did in 2020 elections. So you have to then assume they couldn't carry through with the local elections. They would have come up short. Because about this time, there's so much mistrust of the governing party that they would really and truly need another $20 million to control the elections in the future. And I'm not talking about Jamaican dollars, I'm talking about US.
What?
The question is where they're going to get it from.
You just talk about 3 billion Jamaican, 3.8 billion, you know.
That's right.
What? May I say?
Yes, Jeffrey. We have a next caller, but say and talk with Jeffrey.
Do you remember when the Honorable KD Sheriff Knight, former Minister of National Security, said that $14 billion was taken from the taxpayers of Jamaica to run an election? Do you remember that?
Finish, Conrad, I can answer you.
Okay.
Conrad.
No, yes, man. I remember. As a matter of fact, it was doing.
You remember, of course.
Just relax, man. It was doing the rounds today. It was doing the rounds today as it relates to that. They dubbed it as a leaked message, a leaked voice note from KD Knight, and you know, based on what Herb is saying, and even Jeffrey is saying, because Jeffrey is saying that the government bought the election. So based on what he is saying, then
I never tell you that. I never tell you that.
It looked like KD.
Well, I'm before I go back the road again.
It looked like KD had a problem. But Wayne,
because the TNT by election too.
Wayne and fellow partners, I have to go, please. I have
go
to
and
leave.
press. Go ahead and press.
All right, good. Take care. Blessings.
All right, my brother. Yes, man. All right, let us hear the question from the other caller here. Yes, caller.
Yes, Wayne. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Are you hearing me, Wayne?
Yes, man. Where you're clear.
Yeah. I can understand and see the passion of Mr. O'Brien and you know, Jeffrey. I understand, but Mr. Rattigan, what I just want to throw at you quickly, because I'm here tuned in. I want to know, Mr. Rattigan, and the members of the panel, if you might have answered this question. Why did the government, because I did intel, I was underground, did a lot of undercover work during my years, my tenure working in Jamaica. Why is it that the government totally abolished, killed, destroyed, obliterated every possible word you can think of? Intel gathering, as in communities of high volatile crime, as in individuals that are corrupt in the country, because I know personally, Trevor Monroe, I personally did a work on him, followed him to his residence in detail when he was leader of the WPJ. Yet they gave him power to run as integrity commissioner. Why, gentlemen, to get these positions and do the things that they did? Conrad, I know you're passionate. Jeffrey, I know you're passionate. But you on the panel should know exactly what I'm talking about. Why has died completely in Jamaica? Why are no undercover work being done in Jamaica? Gentlemen, just explain that to me, because I speak to Wayne a lot. Just put your input, and that's all I have to ask you. Thank you very much.
All right, cool. Yes, who wants to take that?
Wilfred Rattigan?
It's a simple answer, the big C.
The big C.
The big C. No, let me just say this, that the topic tonight is good governance, right? and it's a broad topic. It covers everything, and we're just scratching the surface. Because
Yes.
we focus on just one scandal, but there are many scandals. We haven't touched the scandals in Ministry of Education, Ministry of National Security,
So the people,
Ministry of Health. We haven't talked about those yet. But let me
no,
just.
the people Rattigan, them begging say no next week because you have to come back. So we have to.
Oh, we'll come back. All right, good. But let me just say this. Let me just say this for the listeners that as I consider myself a patriot, and I don't care about politics,
No.
and I don't care about party. The way I see it is this: whoever sits in that chair as Prime Minister of Jamaica, regardless of the party, it is our duty to support him because he's the Prime Minister or she's the Prime Minister of the entire country of Jamaica, not for the JLP or for the PNP. And what we have to do once the elections are over, we can have our differences and we can have our own leanings. But once the elections are over, we have to come together and support that person, because when that person is successful, Jamaica will be successful. A rising tide lifts all ships, right? But when that person has demonstrated to us, as this Prime Minister has, that a certain level of arrogance mixed with ignorance, then at some point you have to start calling things out. You can't give them a lie. You have to call things out. So it's not about party and it's not about politics. It's about common sense. At the end of the day, you have 70% of the people in Jamaica making less than $60 a week.
Less.
Right?
Yes.
Less. Right?
Yes.
And those are the people that we're fighting for. Because guess why one of your callers, his name slips me now. Sheldon mentioned that one of the things we should do, we should withhold remittances. That's one way. But we could also move. Here's how you could get the FBI to move to do some work now. You go to the FBI and you say, listen, there's something called donor funds, that Jamaica gets all the time, right? And we don't know where the donor funds go. And so we need you to investigate that. And we also need you to investigate ill-gotten gains coming through the SWIFT system anywhere it goes in the world, particularly if it comes to America. That's another way. A third way is what we're doing, what we're striving to do, which is we're fighting for the hearts and minds of the Jamaican people. What do I mean by that? We're trying to educate them and elevate them. We're trying to present facts to them that but for us telling them, they wouldn't have known about it. So that when they make a choice to vote in the election, whoever they want to vote for, they're going to vote for somebody that's going to do things in their best interest. They're not going to take the $5,000 and the 2-piece rotten chicken and the little T-shirt and the baseball cap, because that can only take care of you and your family for what, 2 days, 3 days, depending on how many people you have in your family. Meanwhile, you've given that politician the right to go to Parliament for the next 4 years. Actually, it's 5, but they'll call election before the 5th year. In fact, I was told by a very, very influential person in Jamaica that they had some labor dispute, some labor discussions, and the Honorable Nigel Clark got up in that meeting and said that he was elected to rule. Now, if that's true, that's think about that statement, people. Think about that. And when you think about that, think about your vote. When you take that 5,000, you're thinking about just today. But your vote is actually a vote for the future. That's what you're voting for. And if you think $5,000 is your future, then good luck. So the third part of what we're doing is to educate the people. Because this is the first time in my memory that you have so many people with so much information releasing so much to the Jamaican public to say, look, this is what's going on, that is what's going on, and you inform them and you enlighten them. And only the real diehards would walk away from the facts that we're presenting and not think carefully about what they're going to be doing. When another caller asked and said, where do we go from here? This is why we're here, to go from where we are to there. Good. And we're educating the people. And I'm happy to hear when that they're saying that they want us back, because you know me, right? I can't turn down an invitation like this at no time. You call me, I'm at your beck and call. Anyone on the panel, because we're passionate about Jamaica. We want to see changes in Jamaica. And while we want to support the Prime Minister, we can't support foolishness. Too much corruption. That's the answer. Big C, corruption.
I'm going to take a policeman call. Police are work right now. I'm going to take him call.
We never answered that guy. in a different way.
Yes.
One of the problems with law enforcement in Jamaica is a lack of CIs, confidential informants. There's no program set up today because they're depending on tapping people's phone information. They're going out and they're doing cyber investigations, and people are using that phone to text. They're using the phone to speak. They think they're speaking in codes. You can break the codes in a matter of hours, right? And you can turn up whatever is going on. They can track your movement, right? They can track how many people in a cluster by looking at how many cell phones surround that phone and how many of them is listening to the leadership that's talking, and which phone is the leader. Usually, it's away from the cluster, right? So they know what's going on without having to use a lot of undercover. But I've heard when undercover speak on your show, and they speak especially about internal corruption in the police force that reveal who they are. So if you have CIs out there that you supposed to pay for information, and the CIs out there see you revealing who your undercover police officers are, do you think they're going to volunteer to want to work with you to give you information?
What the police was saying, right? Him do a lot of undercover, deep undercover work. They move that completely. They move it, the undercover work, like our man that dressed like him, a bad boy, and same like how the feds that infiltrate a lot of these gangs and everything just upon them not want that. You understand? Them might do some more. Maybe just talk to a police and take him thing heavy-handed police approach instead of
it should be up to Fitz Bailey and his the type of investigations he wants.
All right, so let me talk to a police right now. So, hold on, let me just same question. Hold on. Yes, invest.
Sir,
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, man, we're here, we're clear.
Respect to all the distinguished gentlemen on the panel.
Yes.
Thank you for your contribution. It's greatly admired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working in the capacity as a sergeant, special operations department. I have a few talking points. I know I can't get all of them out right now, but I'm asking this question real quick. When there's a fraud happening in the United States, there's a department called SEC that investigates that issue. Why doesn't Jamaica have their own body to do investigation and don't rely on outside entities right now?
Because of the big corruption.
Well, that's a question that should be asked of the leadership, because the FBI didn't come.
That's not Mr. Rattigan. I'm sorry. That's Mr. Rattigan. Sorry.
Yeah, him answering,
The FBI didn't come to Jamaica and say, hey, we want to help in this. Jamaica went to them and said, well, we need help, which is kind of weird, because not too long ago, we have the Minister of National Security who said that, hey, we have world-class police here and we have the technology and we don't need any outside assistance. In fact, I think they even sent Jamaican police down to Guyana to assist with investigation and help them, mentor them, and all of that. So the question is, if you have all of that resources at home, why are you doing the outreach and trying to bring people in? Now, going back to what Herb said about this confidential informant, it is spot on, right? And that dovetails into the question that was asked. Why don't you have these things going on? Because there's nothing like having somebody in an organization who can tell you what's going on, right? And I tell you this from the perspective of somebody who's worked undercover. I've worked deep undercover, right? And you need somebody who can penetrate that organization and can come back and say this and that and that and that, and then you can direct the whole thing. For example, a telephone call might not be able to provide you with certain information, but a person inside the organization can tell you about the personnel, they can tell you about the leaders, the membership, the structure, the network, the mission, the domain. They can tell you about the capabilities, the readiness. They can tell you about logistics. They can tell you about the financing. They can tell you about transportation. They can tell you about familial and other types of relationships. They can make connections for you that a phone call might not be able to, or if a phone call does, it might take a long time. And the other thing about a phone call is that, and we used to laugh in the FBI about it, because we said, if you do that link chart, if you broaden that link chart, everybody related, everybody's connected to some criminal. Everybody's connected, because what happened? You go and make a phone call to somebody who go and make a phone call to somebody who makes a phone call to a criminal. And so if we want to connect it to it, we say about this man, him in touch, but you're not really in touch with the criminal. You might not even know the criminal. So that is just one tool, but there's nothing like having somebody inside the organization that can explain all of this.
The same police if you ask something in writing, what to think about Indicom?
Indicom came about because of extrajudicial killings, and I think it was. I don't think Indicom was properly thought through. I think they wanted to do so. They wanted to curb extrajudicial killings, but I think when you handcuff the police, when you go to the extent now that police now afraid to actually do them work now because of Indicom, and I mean that's a problem. And then we found out not too long ago that they didn't have the powers that they claimed that they have. It went all the way to the Privy Council in England, and they came back and said, no, you don't have the power to do all kinds of things that you were doing. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think it was properly thought out. They need to sit down. Look, I make a plea to the Jamaican government, and as I've always done, and I know they're listening. You have esteemed professionals like Herb Nelson on this program, right? And you have others in the diaspora. Reach out to these people. Don't be ashamed, or it's almost like them feel like, oh, we diss them, so we can't go to them. Them feel ashamed. No, we're all the same. We come from the same stock. And yes, we may have our differences, but we can put that aside for the good of Jamaica. Come to us, and you will learn. And I'll tell you what happened. I've been telling them things. In fact, I took a group of people down there, I think it's 1978, and we invited the banking sector, right? The investment sector, and there were things that we were teaching them, things that we were explaining to them within the framework of a fusion center. I know them say, we know them things, man. We know. And yes, we don't know them and see what happened now, right? I've been talking to them about ghost guns, right? And it's just no them have ghost guns there in Jamaica now, and them don't know how to deal with ghost guns. And I've been telling them about ghost guns for a long time. I've been telling them about Fusion Center for a long time. And what they do, they ignore their own people, and who will come and do it for free. And they would much rather go pay somebody or pay people who don't look like us to come and give them a plan that won't work in Jamaica, because we're coming with the Jamaican experience, right? We can land tomorrow and start working. They bring people in who take them a month for them go from uptown to downtown, or for find with the bathroom there, and then pay them tons and tons of money. And at the end of the day, then give them a report, and the report what them give them is the same report what them they get from people who look like them people who they did hire 5 years ago. Same report.
All right, so hear this now. We have like 3 more minutes, because 2.5 hours, so 3 more minutes. But hear this, them ask, why is it the police, Jamaica, them don't appoint police by merit instead of political affiliation?
Let me just quickly say one quick thing, and then Jeffrey. I've been told that the police commissioner has the power to
promote.
To promote. He has the power to promote people on the spot up to the rank of sergeant. And I've been told that I should go back and look and see how much money them give back to the government, because they never promote people. They never promote the people then. So him sit down and him not promote the people.
Commissioners. Instead of, you have an organization and you run up the scale by merit.
Right.
Because their job and why them not do this? Because when you tie Jeffrey, when you tie a commissioner to political parties, then you don't get nothing done. Him not lock up nobody. Them can't get with that kind of things. You understand what I say? Arrogance, everything, it's wrong. A time for that change.
Let me give you one example about this commissioner here. This commissioner here said in, I think it was 2021, in February 20th in Florida at a town hall meeting. He got up in front of a packed audience, and he said, listen, the JCF, he said, best practices say you shouldn't do more than 2 or 3 technology projects at a time, but we're doing 12. And everybody, yeah. I'm said to them, so what a bunch of idiot. Then him come up here now, him come up here last year when him come with the Prime Minister, and said that they're doing supposed to 30-something technology projects. I say, Fiwa. And the man admit it's the best practices, so you shouldn't attempt more than 2 or 3. Do 2 or 3, be successful at that, and then transplant the success to others. But when you spread yourself so thin, and then not only that, as soon as you promote them, as soon as you get them guys and girls up to speed, private industry come in and take them, or them go work a foreign country, or them you migrate. All right? And
so
then
hear this now.
Hold on, Wayne.
Make we hear from
Wayne, hold on a minute, Wayne.
Yes. No, make I hear from you now. So we're gonna wrap up this now. So make we just hear from each every one of you on the panel now. Last.
Okay. The question that was asked, why is it that political parties is the one who appoint commissioner of police? The Jamaican constitution needs to be changed. We need to amend our constitution. We need constitutional reform. The Prime Minister shouldn't be the one. If I'm correct, am I correct, Mr. Rattigan?
Well, not quite, because here's the way it works is that the police services commission is the one that's there. Right. But we know that is politically driven. We know that if the Prime Minister want Wilfred Rattigan, it no matter what nobody else said, Wilfred Rattigan go and get the job. It's that. There you go.
Well, this evening, Mr. Lonesome, was a very good evening. And I just want to say that there was somebody on my YouTube channel asking the question, is the people of Jamaica was the one who voted for the Prime Minister or the Senate? The answer is the people of Jamaica who vote for the Prime Minister. Well, vote for the party itself. The Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister is
the leader of the party.
The president of the People's National Party, president of the Jamaica Labour Party. He automatically become Prime Minister.
And Jeffrey, you have to tell them it must be him. It could be you can be the leader,
yes,
and you could be the chairman, and then use you as the Prime Minister.
Right, right.
Practice that, but we don't really vote for a Prime Minister in Jamaica. We vote, you vote for MP. That again, but you are the leader of the party. We say, okay, So that's why we can move Prime Minister to in a democratic
right.
in place then, like in the UK. Because we have the West, we have the Westminster model. But in our country, they might move like hooligan, brother.
but you know what, Wade? You know what? One of the things that we've strayed away from is teaching civics in school.
Yes.
We've strayed away from it. We need to go back to that and impress upon the young generation that they need to learn about the government that is representing them and how it affects them. We need to go back to that. And we strayed.
Yes, man.
Well, my final word to everyone this evening, that this was a great evening. And my fellow Jamaicans, both in Jamaica and around the world, as I normally say on my program, we're watching and listening from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. The time has come for us in this country to rise up, to stand up, and speak out. Speak out for what we believe in, stand up for what we believe in. I must say thanks to all my viewers on the Make We Talk Jeffery Tavares YouTube channel. Hopefully next week, Mr. Lonesome can have it on my channel next week. I don't know. But
no, but we didn't say we, because you know them people are, you know them now.
Yes.
Yes,
so, I must say that this evening has been a great evening. A wonderful for us to discuss what is going on in our homeland. And I hope that we, Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent, my good friend, Wayne Lonesome, Herb Nelson Jr., Sir Clark, Conrad O'Brien, Ambassador Curtis Ward. I hope because Ambassador Curtis Ward has a program named oh Lord, I'm gonna name the program anyhow, but he has a program also that speaks about what is going on in Jamaica and in the Caribbean. And I hope that we can really come together. Let us be the voice of change that we seek in Jamaica, because the voice of change that we seek will never come from the People's National Party or the Jamaica Labour Party. It has to come from us as a people.
True.
And until we demand a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, then we'll never get the Jamaica that we need. And as I always said, I came into this country by labor pain, not by aeroplane. And all those who believe that they can come into Jamaica by aeroplane and dictate to the people of Jamaica who came there by labor pain, they have a next thing coming. Jamaica is our rock and will always be our rock. Have a good evening. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffery Tavares YouTube channel.
Yes, Herb.
Yes, sir. I have really enjoyed this conversation with the people of Jamaica and amongst my fellow speakers this evening. I just want to say to people the weaknesses in the government. When you have people who are weak because they are susceptible to undue influence from the outside, whether it's the US, whether it's Canada, whether it's the UK, whether it's the EU, you're not going to have good governance. I point to the mere fact that we still are having repercussions from the monies that are being attributable to the JLP, not just with St. Lucia, but with Dudus and the 50,000 that they came up with to pay the law firm that Dudus, who had no fixed income from any job. He was the president, but he wasn't the president of a legal corporation. But you come up with $50,000 and you got in trouble because the money is ill-gotten gain. Nobody was thinking. And I submit to you, since then, nobody has been thinking straight because they keep coming up now with the SSL, and where they have admitted in the past that they got money financing from the SSL. And now here you are, 7 years later, you're denying that you got any money from the SSL. What we're seeing is the appointment now of Mr. Richard Biles to be the head of
FSC.
Of the FSC. I read to you a comment from a CPA. The governor of a central bank which regulates the depository institutions should not also chair the board of the regulator of the non-depository institutions. It amounts to a dictatorship over Jamaica's financial section by an unelected citizen. This move by the government smacks of a knee-jerk reaction to a scandal which could have prevented, but for the role played by cronyism and the appointment of incompetent people to head the FSC after our good friend, Attorney Mitchell, left the job and had pointed to problems back in 2017. You have incompetence on the part of the Ministry of Finance, not just the minister, because he has a team. And that team has failed to perform. They all should be fired. The Prime Minister, we know he's not going to resign, but it's time to reshuffle people in this key ministry. Move folks out. It's time to get yourself a national security advisor. Suggested before, you're moving up another woman to that position because women are mothers and they think about the people of Jamaica as their children. You made a brilliant move with the head of the army, the armed forces, I should say. Well, make another move and bring a woman in as national security advisor. You got one that needs promotion out at customs. You can always put somebody else out there and get that job done quite easily. We have to make positive moves and stop talking about bringing in the FBI, because we know that's a bluff. The FBI is down in Haiti investigating the killing of the Haitian president. And at the same time, just this past week, the New York Times has disclosed that the DEA and the US government gave the go-ahead for the killing of the Haitian president. So my question is, who is investigating whom or what? And how do you expect them to, what kind of job do you think they're going to do if the FBI is not being supported from the White House? We haven't heard from the vice president or the president on any matters having to do with Jamaica and the situation at FSC and SSL. So I suggest you look to the diaspora to resolve your issues. You get a team out of the diaspora that can be effective. And that is my 10 cents worth. Thank you very much, Wayne. I enjoyed the program and look forward to doing
Next week.
This again.
Yes, Paul Bogle, great grandson.
Yes, Wayne.
Yes.
Thank you. Sheldon had wanted me to answer, but because Pusnub is in a dog fight or whatever fight, I can just remain silent. As I'm saying, I'm leading a different rebellion. I'm leading a virtual rebellion. And this is to Sheldon. I'm not saying to throw the present government, but they need to bring awareness to the government that the diaspora is conscious of what is happening here, and they do have a voice, and they do have a mighty power, which is remittance. And what they should do is to fight a virtual war by holding back remittance. And I've said this on several programs. When they come and visit, listen to them, but don't give them no money. And I'm talking any one of the three parties that come there. Let them prove themselves when they're in office. Then you can donate to them. Because you see, they come begging and they make empty promises, because politicians love to talk. And I'm saying, let us fight a virtual rebellion against the system that is so corrupt. I am ashamed of my Jamaica. I'm ashamed of the negative press that goes across the world. And you know, this SSL thing gonna have far-reaching effects on this country. But I'll end by saying, the law can't make a man love me. It can stop him from lynching me. And I too also think that's important. Let no man pull you down so low as to hate him. You know, I don't hate the Prime Minister. I don't hate anybody in government. They're my fellow Jamaicans. But our national anthem is a prayer. And I'd love for all Jamaicans to visit it and to really listen to the words. Eternal Father, bless our land. Guide us with thy mighty hand. Thank you, Wayne. I want a meeting with everybody sometime. We need to revise what happened tonight, because it's very effective. It's making waves. God bless you.
Very, very effective. I remember next week Sunday, same time, because you know we're not going to the for the thing at Rattigan.
Yes, sir.
What the last word, because we're not going to for the thing them yet, you know, but them people are saying yes. You have to hear other things. So next week, definitely Sunday.
Right.
Same time.
Right.
So what you say, Rattigan?
Yeah, let me just say that I was looking forward, and I will look forward to next week's meeting regarding good governance. And we focus today primarily on the Minister of Finance. And think about this. He was described as one of the best performing ministers. We haven't touched on the Minister of National Security, where we have a medical doctor by the name of Dr. Chang, who is one of the worst. We haven't touched on Minister of Education, Favor Williams, who is she's lost. She's completely lost. In fact, they should put her in the back of the classroom with her dunce cap on. She's lost. She's beyond redemption. She has done nothing. In fact, she's harmed the education system in Jamaica. And for those of you who challenge me on that, just go to YouTube and look at her performance last year at the town hall meeting at Jamaica College, and then reach out to me and tell me what you think about it. Minister of Health, Dr. Tufton, the marketing genius who allowed nurses to leave Jamaica. And when I say allowed, he did nothing to prevent them, to pay them and keep them. He allowed them to leave, and then at taxpayers' expense, he came to America to say he's going to recruit them to come back. We need to find out from him how many nurses did he recruit to go back to Jamaica. I dare say it's probably less than 5, less than 6, if any. Probably 0, but taxpayers paid for that nonsense. And the Prime Minister signed off on that, right? Now, we haven't spoken about the worst one yet, which is Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. I mean, she's been described as the worst one. The worst one. She's done so much to harm Jamaica. No, I think she's having some announcement. She says tomorrow. The announcement should be that she's leaving, because she's proved time and again, she's demonstrated time and again that she's not up to the task. And then we have the Prime Minister. And like I said, I support whoever is sitting in that chair, but there comes a time when you have to take stock of everything, and you have to say to yourself, no, enough is enough. This man is not learning. This man is not paying attention. This man doesn't really care. And there are too many tentacles from him leading to acts of corruption. Too many tentacles that people you can draw a straight line from him to things going on around him that at some point he's going to be tainted, right? So he's planning on doing a cabinet shuffle, whatever they call it. And I also heard from my sources that he's planning to have a retreat. Now, let me just make it clear to everyone that wherever they have that retreat, I will be there in that room. I will be there. And when the meeting breaks up, before the ministers and everybody can get to them car, I will know exactly what took place in that meeting. I will be in that meeting. So you either don't have the meeting, or you just have the meeting and you just start some sense, because I will know exactly what took place in that meeting. It no matter where you have the meeting, whether you have it down at the Chinese-built thing there, the Chinese-built Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, where me have direct link so me can hear what go on inside there, or you have it somewhere else, wherever you want to have it, Reveal Royal, Jamaica House, I will be there. So what we need to do is get the Prime Minister, get him between the guardrails so that we can guide him. At this point, it doesn't look as if he wants to be guided. But the one thing I can tell him is this, that he shouldn't be too embarrassed to come to the stones that he's refused. And you know what the good book said, the stone that the builder refused become the main cornerstone, right? And we're here and we're willing to work with him, work with his people, not the ones I just mentioned, because they're hopeless. We can't work with these people. These people are beyond redemption. They cannot redeem themselves in this office. He's got to make change and change his people. And my last piece of advice for the Prime Minister is this. Think about this, Mr. Prime Minister. I've said it before and I'll say it again. When you put a clown in the headmaster's chair, you don't have school, you have a circus. Looking forward.
Wayne, before you go, Wayne.
Yes.
And also he must shuffle the Minister of Misinformation.
Yes.
That is not a minister, brother.
Yes.
That is not a minister.
He's a Minister of Misinformation.
Okay.
And the Minister of National Security and Justice and the Commissioner of No Police must go.
Jeffrey is a menace of misinformation. It's a menace.
There you go.
Menace. You understand? That's a bug life. All right? But there, I remember, Go Gaga, me know you watch, big up yourself.
Twiddly dum dum.
All right, we don't talk. Later, people, next week, Sunday, we're up on here. You know, I'll be a fire fling, yeah? All right, have a good night. Bless you.